and welcome back to the channel. Today you're joining me in something that I'm not all too familiar with. What I'm in today is a Lexus RC300h F-Sport, which is a bit of a mouthful, but it came in part exchange against a Lexus RCF, which apparently is the real deal. But that did have the 5-litre V8 naturally aspirated engine. I did get to take it out for a drive before I sold it, and it was good fun. You know, it sounded tremendous. It was a proper sports coupe, stiff suspension. It was, you know, all singing and dancing, etc., etc. And the chap that bought the RCF and part exchange this in hadn't had this for very long at all. He'd only had it about a month. He'd bought it from a Lexus main dealer, and his whole anticipation with the car was for it to be a weekend fun sports car, or a grand tourer when he was to take it on holiday. And he felt that it just kind of missed the mark a little bit, and he should have bought the 5-litre to begin with. So anyway, that's what he ended up doing. So this one has not long been freshly prepared by Lexus with a full service and MOT, even had disc and pads and all sorts. Great stock for me. But I thought I'd do a bit of review. The first impressions are, and again, I'm not really well versed in the whole Lexus kind of brand, is I'm very impressed with the build quality. A lot of people have said it, it's been a well-known thing for years, the Lexus are built remarkably well. It's only when you sit in one and you really appreciate what they're saying. The materials they use are lovely. The leather's really nice and soft, it's plush. It's got a lovely carbon trim around the window switches and the mirror switches in this particular one. Leather through the center console, up on top of the dash. But nothing seems to creak too much if you used to really press it and squeeze it and things like that. It all seems very, very solid, so really impressed with that side of things. It does feel a little bit like you're within a plane cockpit, which I almost think Lexus and Toyota like that about their cars. It sometimes almost seems overcomplicated, but don't get me wrong, I much prefer to have buttons than one big screen, so I'm quite pleased about it. Just a couple of things that don't really make sense to me. One of which being the lights, for example. So you've got your light switch on your stalk, as you would ordinarily expect on most cars. But if you wanted your high beam assistant to be on, that's a separate button down on the corner of the dash here. And you think they'd almost link the two. But in terms of a ride quality, it's lovely. You know, it's really quite solid. The seats are nice. They're like a two-tone leather. They might look all black on the camera, but the centre part is actually slightly lighter of a grey, so it is a two-tone seat. In terms of the driver's bit, you've got plenty of room. I'm not sure I'd be too fussed about spending a huge amount of time within the rear of this car. I'm not the tallest of people, and I don't have an enormous amount of headroom, and there's not an enormous amount of leg room behind me, so I don't think I'd be wanting to be squeezed into the back of it. But I suppose as a two-door sports coupe, maybe that's not really a reason that you buy it for practicality. But it's the 2.5-litre V6 petrol engine combined with hybrid technology. And as we all know, Toyota and Lexus are all under the same umbrella, and they've been using hybrid technology for a long, long time, for years before other manufacturers kind of dabbled in it. So we know that the tech is very good. It's a little strange to drive to begin with. I think it kind of comes down to this CVT gearbox that they use. In principle, works exactly the same. You've got park, reverse, neutral and drive, and you've got two pedals, one of which will make you go faster, the other of which will slow you down. But it's the way that it does it that's slightly different. So when you was to put your foot down in this car here with the CVT gearbox and the hybrid tech, the engine almost kicks into life, and the revs seem to go up massively. They seem to go really high, and it's almost like it's waiting for the speed of the car to kind of catch up and match with the revs, where in a traditional automatic car, of course, is the revs and speed kind of coincide with one another. So it is slightly different in the way that you drive it, and it does feel a bit weird at times. And the other thing is you've got these two different driving modes over the normal. So we're in normal mode at the minute. If I was to put it into a sport mode, I get a lovely digital dial that changes in the centre dash here, and I got a synthetic sound. It is very quick. It is quick. It's weird that when you're in the sport mode, it does the revs that are a different rev to what the actual car is doing, but you can kind of get over that, I suppose, because it does give you a good fun drive when you're in it. So that sound isn't real, it comes through the speakers, but it also doesn't match the actual revs of the car, because the car's very quiet, but if you have it in normal mode, and I do that, revs are up high, and then the speed kind of catches up. So it's a bit of a strange thing to kind of listen. I'm not sure why they've tried to make it sound like a more of a sporty traditional car in sport mode, when it kind of just puts you off the fact that it isn't that. So that's a bit of an odd one, but I quite like driving it in sport. It does become a bit more responsive. The throttle's more of a kick to it. The steering slightly heavier to give you a bit of a sporty feel. And then if I go the other way, it then puts it into an eco mode, of which then of course is relying more so on the battery to do the drivetrain rather than the engine. So it really does quieten it down, and it becomes less responsive, and it's really trying to be more economical. It's not just a trick. But I'm going to go back into normal mode. The digital dial changing with whichever mode I put it into is quite a nice touch as well. You do also have various different menus that you can go through. That's kind of standard across a car of this age, being a 2018, but they've done it very well. And as I say, I like the fact that it's buttons over this way. I've got the heated seats and the ventilated seats, electric memory settings on this one here. A lot of this does come as standard with the Lexus brand. You know, they really do put it into a luxury kind of market, and rightly so. It should be that if you're paying luxury prices, you should get all of the luxury parts that come with it. It comes with the reversing camera, the front and rear parking sensors, the cruise control, and everything like that. It all comes as standard, which is great. You know, I'd like to see that more across other manufacturers, instead of everything just being an additional extra. So yeah, the build quality is very good. The ride is firm, but it's not too firm. You know, I think they're trying to be a sports coupe, so it's kind of in fitting with that. But yeah, the engine and the gearbox setup is slightly, I don't know, it's almost like they've missed the mark with it being a sports coupe. But aesthetically, I think it looks great from the exterior. It's got almost some quirky shapes with the headlights and the front bumper cutouts and stuff like that. And I think it's a head turner in the right way. You know, there are people that look at this car as you drive by almost as if are they looking to see if it is the proper Lexus RCF? I'm not really sure, because it's the F Sport, so obviously they want it to be along that kind of similarities. But it just, it does feel really solid. The sound system's great in here. The tech, once it's paired up with your phone and stuff like that, and you've kind of spent 5 minutes getting around it, it's relatively easy. But as I say, sometimes I almost think it is a little bit overcomplicated, really, for what's needed. But no, overall, really impressed. 225 brake is pretty good. The way that it delivers it is slightly odd. But being obviously hybrid tech, it's really in the agenda of what modern cars are trying to be, which is of course good for the environment. So it's all ULEZ compliant. You can drive it through clean air zones, and being a hybrid, I imagine you'll be able to do that for a long time to come, only because of course they're really pushing the battery element of it now, and also hybrid tech. So I think it's certainly future-proofed, being the 2.5 V6 petrol with a hybrid engine. It's almost like they're trying to give you the best of both worlds as a sports coupe, something which gives you a decent amount of power, and also regulates itself with the modern world of what it's trying to be, and saving polar bears, etc., etc. But no, I've been pleasantly surprised. As I say, I've never really given them too much of a notice. The only thing is I don't know whether I'd choose it over the German equivalent. An Audi A5 I think would be a close comparison, a two-door sports coupe, four-seater car, but that with the 3-litre TFSI V6 engine, I think may just walk this one out of the park. The tech and the build quality, very, very similar with the German car, but the Lexus I think maybe pips it on that, because it really is very solid. You can press on any of these bits. In other manufacturers you might get some creaks and bits, but not so much in this one. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've been running around in some errands for a couple of days, and it has kind of changed my mind about it. When I first had it, I really wasn't too fussed. I thought, it's a Lexus. I know people really like them. Another cool thing that Lexus as a brand do is, if you keep it serviced within their main dealerships, you can extend the warranty with them year on year. And you never really hear of too many sinister stories involving a Lexus and reliability. Well, I certainly haven't come across many. And when you speak to people who own a Lexus, they seem to have owned it forever and have replaced it for a like-for-like model when they come to change it. And you can kind of see as to why. You know, it's a very good car. There's no denying it. I don't know whether I'd have it over a more traditional 3-litre V6, which makes you feel like you are in a sports coupe. But I'm really enjoying driving it, and it has definitely changed my mind about what a Lexus is. I'll probably continue to kind of stock them even after this one goes, because I'm just impressed with it, and I think you know, I've got some kind of confidence in selling the product that it shouldn't give me too much of a headache afterwards. But I really hope you've enjoyed this short review. If you could like and subscribe to the channel, it really does mean a lot. The numbers are growing, I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you for the next one. Thank you.